Welcome everybody to this session. My name is Yaron Wolfsthal and I'm the head of IBM's Cyber Security Center of Excellence. In this session, I'm going to present to you one of the main research projects in our center. This project addresses a very important business problem which is at the heart of the modern Security Operations Center. This is about smart threat investigation. Just before we go deeper, a few words about my organization. Since 2014, our research lab is based in Sheva, right near Ben-Gurion University, which is also our partner in many research projects. Our main mission at the IBM Lab is to be the innovation arm for the global IBM company in the area of enterprise security technology. We are missioned to think into the future and provide IBM and customers with technologies that will solve the security problems and threats of tomorrow. Among other topics, we do a lot of work in artificial intelligence, threat management, and cloud security. And the research project, which you'll hear about today, brings all of those together. Equally importantly, our mission is also to support the development of new security architectures for the security community. And one of them is an IBM open platform called Cloud Pak for Security, that is the foundation of the research project which I'll present. Let us look closely at the business problem we have. In cybersecurity, we are dealing with protecting organizations against cyber attacks. And let's look at a complex attack which typically has many moving parts and is very hard to detect. An attacker will typically start with social engineering or targeted phishing in order to gain access to the user machine. In the user machine, they will install malware. The attacker would then be able to execute code remotely, and after gaining this ability, the attacker will spin code that accesses data in a database and then ships it back to a control and command server. The organization often will not be aware of the attack well after a good part of it has happened, potentially leading to a disaster. Shifting to the cloud only makes security even more difficult. And moreover, since the advent of COVID-19, things have only gotten more complicated and dangerous. The number of remote workers accessing IT systems from outside their enterprise firewall with often unmanaged devices and unsecure home networks has soared, often with very little control, adding to vulnerability. Now, let's take the view of the organization from the inside out. This is the view of the analyst in the Security Operations Center. We can bet there are many security and monitoring solutions that have been laid out across the organization's network. These are sophisticated sensors of security events, and many of them have smart analytics capabilities that can detect local anomalies. But each of these sensors only sees a local small part of the big picture. It is the role of the security analyst to do the complex detective work, dig through all the information, some from the network, some from outside intelligence, and figure out the entire scope of the attack. The job of the analyst is like solving a jigsaw puzzle with many patterns. Some are real jigsaw patterns, some are false jigsaw patterns, and some are often missing. And solving this puzzle has been traditionally a very manual intensive task. Now we want to change this. The purpose of our research is to boost analyst effectiveness and give analysts a way to quickly build and expand their understanding of what they are looking at and relate what they see to a known frame of attacks so they can assess it and communicate it. We want the analyst to be able to quickly make the forest from the trees. To make a long story short, the business problem which this project addresses is the bottleneck of investigating security incidents. Investigation is a central activity in the Security Operations Center. A security center, SOC, is all about sensing, detecting, assessing, and reacting. And investigation of threats is the critical stage of assessing threats and attacks, applying all the smarts at our disposal. This task of investigation is quite hard, and it has been done manually so far for a good reason. There are multiple difficulties, and to understand them, let's look at the challenges of the modern SOC. The most common complaint in the SOC is the flood of alerts. In fact, there are way more alerts than the SOC could actually handle. And to make things worse, many of these alerts are false positives, and it is hard to prioritize which alerts should be looked at first and how much time should be spent on each alert. It is mostly based on intuition and experience, which leads us to the next pain point, shortage of qualified staff. This is an industry-wide problem, and security operations centers are having a real tough time finding experienced staff, and they end up occupying junior staff with little or to no experience quite often. Not only that the relevant domain knowledge is missing, they also need to learn about the organization they are defending. It is very hard to keep an organizational memory in this way and improve your processes. On top of that, the staff needs to handle too many tools and technologies. The analysts need to work with the SIM system to look at events, manage the response in another system, deep dive into data protection products and identity and access management dashboards, and correlate all that data with external data from threat intelligence, all in order to understand what happened. A nightmare of tool integration. All these challenges are amplified by the increasing threat landscape. The attack surface becomes bigger with cloud environments and employees connecting through VPNs, sometimes using their own personal computers and mobile devices. Also, the attackers are becoming more and more sophisticated, and they are finding that the COVID-19 situation is a very good time to work from home and get things done for them. Within this complex environment of the SOC, the problem of threat investigation, which I previously described, is one of the most challenging ones. Many questions have to be answered. The first question, the most intimidating one, is which systems were affected and did we lose any data? Losing private data would lead to serious damage of reputation, expenses, and lost time. Second, even after we understand the impact, we still need to understand where the attacker came from and what systems did the attacker pass on their way, and if they still have persistence in my system. Just mitigating the impact will not be enough, since the attacker may continue to do damage. Also, to help in this process, we need to ask ourselves, who is the attacker? What were they after? Are they trying to steal my intellectual property, or are they just trying to make some money from blackmailing the organization? Related to this, knowing the attacker could also help in understanding which tools and techniques the attacker uses, which helps what to look for. All those questions are a part of the investigation, which makes it so difficult. And this set of complex challenges is precisely what we are working on. And to this end, clearly we need a working environment that provides us the powerful capabilities we need. This is where IBM Cloud Pak for Security comes in. Cloud Pak for Security is an open cloud platform made up of modular security capabilities and services that sit on top of the IBM Cloud platform and is pre-integrated with Red Hat OpenShift. It allows to mix and match our platform services with third-party tools to unify data across different workflows and vendors. It builds on open source software that has been contributed by IBM to the community and can be extended through an open ecosystem of data connectors. This way, Cloud Pak for Security helps promote open and interoperable security, supporting the tools you already use or may use in the future. And as I said, Cloud Pak for Security is pre-integrated with Red Hat OpenShift, giving users the flexibility to deploy and run it anywhere, on-premise, in private cloud, or a public cloud, so users can choose what is right for their organization. Let's go back to the problem we are solving, namely the automation of threat investigation. This slide illustrates how the raw event looks like in a modern security operations center. The event looks like a lot of disconnected alerts. They may come from different security products and may not even be all presented on the same screen. Our goal is to build an integrated, precise attack sequence or attack graph from all those disconnected events. The first thing our solution does is normalize these events and the information they carry. We do this by representing the events in our solution as STIX events. STIX stands for Structured Threat Information Expression. It is a standard form of representing threat intelligence information. This standard representation makes it easy for us to parse and extract the artifacts. Another framework to mention in this context is the MITRE ATT&CK framework. This is a globally accessible de facto standards knowledge base of attacker tactics and techniques. Once we have laid out the raw data, we are adding two types of context information. First is the internal context. It adds additional information from within the user network environment. It is coming from the various security sensors and scanners that are integrated and can be accessed through the Cloud Pak for Security services. This context may include, for example, database classification, mapping of IP to host name, network classification, and host metadata, like operating system, type of assets, and so on. The second type of context you use is external context. It comes as feeds of threat intelligence that are also integrated in Cloud Pak for Security, like the IBM X-Force Exchange threat feed or third-party feeds. This context information contributes to decoration of graph nodes and can also be used to introduce new nodes. So in our initial attack model, this is how attack is represented. The real meat of our research is the forensics investigation algorithm. We are using a graph search algorithm. During the investigation process, the graph is expanded to contain more and more relevant security events and evidences from the raw data. This example you see here is very schematic. In reality, our users will have tons of events and the graph can diverge very quickly even when retrieving data for small time windows. I will note that we have to create very focused queries and guide the investigation to a particular direction that has high potential to contain attack-related information. This is the smarts of the algorithm. And if that wasn't hard enough, consider the fact that the investigation algorithm only has the limited visibility that was provided by the local sensors in the first place. The challenge of partial information is why we are also incorporating domain knowledge in the decision making. We do that and we perform smart risk assessment as we go. The investigation will end up with a big graph of connected artifacts. Some artifacts are relevant to the attack, other belongs to different investigation paths that we followed and researched and reached a dead end. Another major aspect of our investigation algorithm is the ability to do attack kill chain reasoning and classification. Our goal is to reveal a meaningful attack story which contains the impact of the attack, the initial compromise, and any lateral movements that was involved and evidences that we can collect. This is a difficult problem, and we do this using techniques from machine learning, graph theory, database optimization, and other techniques. But that is not all. In the end, we need to make the results easily consumable by a human being, by an analyst. Common ontologies such as MITRE are very helpful here. In this chart, you can see a screenshot of one of our prototypes presenting the attack kill chain in the visual and conceptual formalism of the MITRE attack framework. To summarize, the main idea of this work is to enable automatic investigation of threats, and moreover, provide means to do it even before a SOC analyst had a chance to explore the initial incident. In order to do this, we are using an open foundation provided by IBM's Cloud Pak for Security, where we are aggregating data from different sources, from many security vendors, normalizing the data to a unified format, and apply an elaborate algorithm for automating the investigation process by graph search and expansion. Overall, the value proposition of this work is to automate and visualize the understanding of threats, making investigations easy, consumable, and actionable. We are always looking for collaborations, so please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you very much for your interest.